All right. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start from somewhere. I know every time when I come here, I usually say, ask me questions and I will give you answers. But today, I basically want to start from somewhere. I want to start from somewhere, seriously. And I want to answer a very important question. One of my main topics for today is how do I get out of floating loss? How do I get floating loss? All right. Today, ladies and gentlemen, just a minute. I want to start from somewhere. I know. Right. So I basically want to answer a question. How do I get out of floating loss? And it's one of the questions that I want to answer today. And I'll see if I could provide you answers to that question, give you better understanding of the opportunity, and help you move your business to another level. Okay. So that's where I want to start from. So I want to welcome everybody because it's going to be somehow a long journey. I would like to request you get somewhere to write if possible. You listen to me attentively, and then I basically get into my lesson for today. Happy to have you all here. I love you all, and I'm working with Coach Mopiwa, and immediately when I personally finish, I will basically come him to the call and be able so that he can be able to basically take you through. So the topic is floating loss, and that's my main topic for today. That's where I want to put my focus, my time, my energy. Okay, that's where I want to. And that is where we are going to be able to put our focus and our time. Okay. All right. If we are ready, we could type one in the chat. If you are ready, let's type one in the chat and then we get started. If you are ready, let's type one in the chat. If you are ready, let's type one in the chat. If you are ready, let's type one in the chat. If you are ready, let's type one in the chat. And then we are going to be good to go. We are going to be good to go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, all right. So let me join with my other device. I want first to define what is floating loss. Before I go to the lesson of floating loss, I want to first define what is floating loss. Okay, so that's where I want to start from. I want to start from what is floating loss, and that's where I basically want to put That's where I want to put my focus. That is where I want to put my focus. Okay. So just a minute. What is floating loss? I want to first define what floating loss is, and then I go to how do you get out of floating loss. That's the two major things I want to talk about. And then I'm going to invite back Coach Mo to basically now go to your other normal questions of the day that we usually have. The other normal questions of the day that we usually have. Okay. It seems like no, this is not good. Okay. All right. I need to find a better way. The first one is not working out. So let me find a better way to approach this very fast. Sometimes we are dealing with internet-related businesses, so things can go berserk, but we'll always find a way to provide a solution. Okay, so let's get started. Now, the first and most important thing, my video is gonna be off, ladies and gentlemen, because there is a serious blackout of the market in terms of electricity, and I don't have control about that. So there's no reason why my camera should be on, yet I cannot be visible. Don't focus on my camera, focus on the information that I'm going to be sharing. How to get out of floating loss. Now, what is floating loss? So many people in the crypto market space have issues with floating loss. They have issues when the market goes against them. They feel bad when the market runs against them. They feel unpleased when things go not their way. They feel like they've been taken over when things don't move their way. So it is important for us as leaders to help people understand what is this thing called floating loss and what is it all about. And that's why we take it to our point and degree to define this topic so that it becomes very clear for anyone who wants to get started in the business. Okay. Have I shared my whiteboard? If my whiteboard is visible, give me one in the chat. If my whiteboard is visible on your side, the one in the chat. Okay. If my whiteboard is visible, the one in the chat. All right. Now, what is floating loss? One of my biggest challenges when I got started in the business was floating loss. It was my biggest challenge. Generally, I would say that it was something that used to hurt me so much until I was able to understand that floating loss is something normal in the crypto market space. Let me first define what is floating loss so that someone could understand before I go to how you get out of floating loss. Okay. If someone decides to be a trader or an investor in crypto, buys Bitcoin. I'll use Bitcoin as an example. Someone buys Bitcoin. And when this person buys Bitcoin, he buys a Bitcoin at $50,000. And then Bitcoin goes down to $30,000. Okay, someone buys Bitcoin at $50,000. Then the price of Bitcoin goes to $30,000. This person will still have the same amount of Bitcoin, but he will be in floating loss. Okay, let me first bring it into so that someone who's new gets me more clearer. Let me find a better way. I'll get this off. Let me first share a signal, guys. Let me first share a signal so that you can be trading as we wait. As I teach you making money, it is very bad for me to be teaching when you are not making money. I want to make sure that as I'm teaching, you are making money. You know, that is very important to me. It is why I breathe oxygen. Okay? Leaders, let's play our role. Leaders, let's play our responsibility. I call upon you once again. Okay, so I'm done. So now back here. Elon Musk, what do you want to do this morning? Elon Musk. Elon Musk wants to do something this morning, guys. This guy, Elon Musk, he wants to do something this morning. I don't know why, but it is too early for us, Elon Musk, this morning, please. This is too early this morning for Elon Musk. But I'll share what Elon wants to do this morning, guys. But let's move on to the topic. I did not come here to discuss Musk, although I believe it could be something good for us, but I will share what Elon Musk wants to do this fantastic morning. Okay, now I'm explaining floating loss. I'll use an example of Peter. Okay, Peter, Peter, Peter goes to the market and Peter wants to buy gold. Peter goes to the market and Peter wants to buy gold. Peter buys 1 bar of gold. For writing in my screen, but today I will not complain. 1 bar of gold at $10,000. The next day, Peter goes into the market to check the price of gold. Peter has still 1 bar of gold, but Peter discovers that the price of his 1 bar of gold is $80,000. Peter is in a loss of how much? Peter is in a loss of how much? Some answers in the chat. Peter is in a loss of how much? Some answers in the chat. Peter is in a loss of how much? Peter is in a loss of how much? Some answers in the chat. Peter is in a loss of how much? Some answers in the chat. Peter is in a loss of how much? Peter is in a loss of how much? Some answers in the chat. Peter is my screen. The answers, I need them in the chat. Okay, not in my screen, but in the chat. Now, Peter is in a loss of $20,000. But I have a question. Does Peter still have 1 bar of gold? Does Peter still have? Oh, my question seems to be, it was not clear. Peter went and bought 1 bar of gold at $10,000. The next day, Peter goes and he finds that his 1 bar of gold is $80,000. So Peter has lost $20,000, $2,000 in short. Peter has lost $2,000 in short. I hope, let me repeat because some of you are getting confused. Peter went and bought the bar of gold at $10,000. Simple. Peter goes back to check the price of gold. He finds the price of gold is at $8,000, not 80, $8,000. This one here. He bought at 10. He finds the price of gold at $8,000. Peter is in a loss of how much? Peter is in a loss of how much? Peter is in a loss of how much? $2,000. Peter is in a loss of how much? $2,000. But has Peter lost his gold? Has Peter lost his gold? Has Peter lost his gold? Peter still has his gold. If Peter decides to sell his gold, he will lose how much? If Peter decides to sell his gold, he will lose how much? If Peter decides to sell his gold, he will lose how much? If Peter decides to sell his gold, he will lose how much? Now, Peter decides not to sell his gold. Peter decides not to sell his gold. After 2 weeks, Peter goes back to check the gold. After 2 weeks, Peter goes back to check his gold. Now you see. Peter decides now the challenge that you are now overwriting. And since I'm not using a PC, I need to always stop and start. Please, I request. I believe I'm dealing with old people. And I now need to use maybe another device to be able to access another whiteboard. But I hope we are old people and we can be able to adjust. Okay. All right. Continue. Now, this is what happens. This is what happens, guys. Peter still he has 1 bar of gold. He goes back. He goes back. He goes back after 2 weeks, and he finds that his 1 bar of gold that he bought at $10,000 is now $12,000. How much profit? How much profit does Peter have? How much profit does Peter have? Peter has a choice to either sell his gold. When Peter sells his gold, will he lose the gold? When Peter sells his gold, will he lose the gold and get the money? Good. Peter will lose the gold and get the money. Will Peter still be able to get the gold at $10,000 by then? Will Peter be able to get the gold at $10,000 when he sells, when it is at $12,000? Good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the first scenario, in the first scenario, when Peter bought 1 bar of gold at $10,000, and then he went back the second day, he found that 1 bar of gold is at $8,000. Peter was in what we call floating loss. If you have understood floating loss, give me a yes in the chat. Peter will still have his 1 bar of gold, but Peter, he will be at floating loss. If you have understood floating loss, give me a yes. If you understood what is floating loss, Peter will be at floating loss. Now, is floating loss real loss? Is floating loss real loss? According to what I've explained, not according to how you feel. Now, here it is understanding, it's not feelings. Is floating loss real loss? Is floating loss real loss? Good. Now, having explained what floating loss is, I don't want people who, you follow my question. Is floating loss real loss? We're not talking about who, if you sell or if you touch the coin. The question is according to what I've explained. Don't cause confusion in the chat. You either take part or you follow the question. The question is floating loss real loss according to what I've explained. That's all. Other things, it is opposite of the real loss. Some people, maybe you have some issues. The answer is either yes or a no. If you have understood it is a loss, type a yes. If you have understood it is a no, type a no. Simple. As simple as that. Okay, now, having understood that floating loss is not real loss, now, I want to explain better. That was the first thing. If Peter had managed his capital well, that is wallet management. And Peter, yes, Peter had $10,000. And he still wanted to buy 1 bar of gold. It was at $10,000. And Peter decided to say, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my $2,000 and buy the gold the first time. Now, the challenge here, I'm using my fingers and okay, let me go again. Peter wanted to buy gold. Peter wanted to buy gold. And Peter had $10,000. And Peter decided for the first day to put in $2,000. And he bought gold at $10,000. The price of gold was $10,000. But he, instead of going in with $10,000, Peter decided to invest only $2,000. Then Peter went back to the shop to check the price. He found that the price of the gold had turned to $80,000. He still invested in $2,000. The price was $80,000. Peter, on the third day, he still decided to check the price of the gold. Peter still invested in $2,000, and the price of the gold was $5,000. If you are following, type for me yes in the chat, because now this is where the business is. Before I go to how you get out of floating loss, Peter found that the price of the gold was $10,000. Instead of investing in all his $10,000, Peter decided to invest in $2,000 when the price of the gold was at $10,000. Peter went back to check the price of the gold. He discovered that the price of the gold had gone down to $8,000. He still invested in $2,000. The third time, Peter discovered that the price of the gold had gone to $5,000 and invested in $2,000 again. Are we following? Good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you discover that Peter is buying the gold at different prices. Give me a one in the chat if you have discovered that. Peter is buying the gold at different prices. Beautiful. Now, that in crypto is what we call dollar cost averaging. That in crypto is what we call DCA, dollar cost averaging. Buying an asset at different prices. Give me a 2 in the chat if that knowledge is home now. Give me a 2 in the chat if that knowledge is home now. Okay, beautiful. Now we are continuing slowly, guys. Now, Peter, to get the average price of the average price, to get the average price at which Peter will sell his gold, because now 2 questions. Okay, let me use 2 examples. One is called John, another is called Peter. John invested his $10,000 at once when the gold was at $10,000. And Peter kept on putting in $2,000 consistently whenever the price of the gold dropped. I have a question. Now, the average price of Peter will be the number of gold, of small amounts of gold he will have collected, divided by the total amount he has bought. That is when Peter will get his average price, where he will sell. Now I have a question. Of the 2, Peter and John, who will wait longer? Of the 2, Peter and John, who will wait longer? The one who bought at different prices, or the one who put in all his money at once? Of the 2, Peter and John, who will wait longer? I'm explaining floating loss. Of the 2, because Peter has an average price. When he adds the different times he has bought and divide, he will get an average price. Now, of the 2, Peter and John, who will wait longer? Thank you. John will wait longer because John will wait. John will wait for the coin for the coin to for the token to go back to $10,000. But Peter will have an average of the different times he has bought, and he will sell faster. Now, floating loss, you can only get out of floating loss when you manage your wallet well. So the first thing we talk about before we talk about floating loss and how to get out of floating loss, it is called wallet management. The first thing is called wallet management. The first thing you are supposed to do before you start trading is to manage your wallet. And what is wallet management? What is wallet management? What is wallet management? Just a minute, guys, just a minute. Now, you cannot manage what you don't have. Are we together? Now, let's manage your wallet. If you are ready to manage your wallet, give me one in the chat. I want to go to wallet management. Then I go how you get out of floating. I want to first teach you how to manage your wallet. Okay? How do you manage your wallet? Now, you manage your wallet according to your capital. Different capital have different management strategies. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to manage your wallet, there are two things you can have. The first thing is called discipline. The first thing is called discipline. The second thing is called emotions. How many of us are here? And sometimes you got excited and invested a lot of money in one coin and you behaved like John. Give me a yes in the chat if you have had that issue. You became excited. You wanted to make more money faster and you invested a lot of money in one coin like John. So the first thing we can manage, this gentlemen, before we talk about wallet management, is to manage ourselves. If you want to be successful, we need to manage ourselves. And how do we manage ourselves? How do we manage ourselves? Is to have discipline. I have shared a video on the crypto ambassadors groups of a lady who wanted to compound. If you have watched that video, give me a one in the chat. Who was asked, is it okay for you to make a penny per day or $1 million at once? If you have watched that video, give me one in the chat. I've shared a video like that on the crypto ambassadors groups. If you have watched that video, give me one in the chat. And a penny a day or $1 million at once. Give me one in the chat if you have watched that video. No one has watched that video. A penny a day or $1 million at once. And at the end of the cycle, the lady discovered that the money was becoming, the money was too much. The money was increasing. The money was increasing. And she was like, I want to change my setup. I want to change my setup. I better go in with a penny a day. And that's how most of you behave. You have your $100 and you want your $100 to turn into $1 million in a blink of an eye. If I'm speaking to someone, give me a 2 in the chat. If I'm speaking to someone, give me a 2 in the chat. You have $500 and you want your $500 to become $10,000 in a day. You have your $1,000 and you want your $1,000 to become $1 million in a day. I have a question. Is it possible? Is it possible, my friends? I know people are here. I want to deal with mindset first. Is it possible? Is it possible? If you are still giving me a yes, that's why you will suffer with floating loss. If you are still giving me a yes, that's why you will suffer with floating loss. So I want us to have discipline. I want us to have self-control. I want us to control ourselves. Hello? Hello, friends. Are we there? Okay. Now, how do we manage our wallet? I'm going to give several ways of how we manage our wallet, because if we do not manage our wallet well, we cannot get out of floating loss. Okay? So how would we manage our wallet? That's the first step. If I have $100, I can decide to divide my $100. I can decide to divide my $100 into 5, and I trade. Listen to me very closely. And I trade a maximum. And I trade a maximum of 3 coins a day. That is strategy number 1. Or if I have $100, I can say I will trade $100 a day with 1 coin. If I have $200, I will say I will trade 2 coins. But since I only have $200, I will trade 1 coin a day and leave the rest of 100 unused. If I have $300, I would say I will expose $100 per coin. I trade a maximum of 2 coins a day and leave $100 untouched. If I have $500, I could decide to divide my $500 into 5. It means each coin I will be trading it with $100 per coin, and I trade 3 coins, and I remain with $200 unused. Are we learning? So if I have $1,000, I can say I will go with $1,000 divide by 5. It means each coin I'll be trading $200, and I can trade a maximum of 3 coins a day and leave the rest unused. I'm teaching you all strategies. All I can say, I'm strong enough. I will trade $1,000 per 1 coin. If I have $2,000, I will trade 1 coin and leave my $1,000 unused. If you have understood wallet management, give me a 3 in the chat. So you can decide to divide by 5, divide by 3, 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 divide by 5, divide by 3. If you have understood wallet management first, before you go to first buying amount. So if I know now that I have $100 and I'm gonna trade, divide my $100 into 5, and each coin I'll trade with $20. I will not use margin. Are we following, guys? I will not use margin calls. Why? Because I don't have money. It means, in my understanding, I'm saying I will trade 5 coins, 3 today, 3 today, 3 today, and I leave my $20 unused to increase my probability of making more money since I don't have more capital. But if I decide to say I will use $100 a coin, I will divide it according to the crypto ambassador's strategy. I'll divide this into 6, and I will get $16 to be my first buying amount. But as a must, listen to me, friends, but as a must, I must switch on the AI margin call. People who don't attend training are very heavy. They call you in times of Zoom. They are very heavy. Very heavy. $100 divided by 6, I get 16 as my first buying amount. I must switch on the AI margin call. Why AI? Why AI, friends? Let me explain. Why AI? Because when I open my margin call, the AI margin call Guys, just wait. Someone is disturbing me. Someone is becoming a very big problem. When someone switches you off, they mean business. The AI margin call. The AI margin call is very important in the Royalq robot. The AI margin call is very important when using the Royalq robot. So after switching on your trade, because you have little capital, even when you open margin calls, make sure the AI margin call is on. Why? Let's say your first drop is 0.2, and this side you have put 1. What does this mean? It means that when the market drops by 0.2 and it rises by the buying callback, which is 0.1 according to our strategy, the robot is supposed to buy. But if the AI margin call is off, it will buy here. Did you know that it can buy immediately and then the market drops again? Give me a 1 in the chat if I've understood that. It buys here, the market drops again by the second call, the robot buys again. The market drops again by the next call, the robot buys again, and you have little capital. In a blink of an eye, all your money is over, and you are in serious floating loss. Now, what I want to deliver, if you have little capital, is it important to switch on the AI margin call? We are in preventive measures before we go to how to get out of floating loss. Is it important if you have understood? If you have little capital, is it important to switch on the AI margin call? Good. If you have more capital, like for example, if I'm using $1,000 per coin, I can decide not to switch on the AI margin call. Give me 1 in the chat if you have understood. For example, I have $1,000 and I want to trade $1,000 per coin. Here, I can say, I will use the super bull run strategy. And the super bull run strategy says you can use 15% of your capital you want to expose or 40% of your capital. I recommend any of the two, depending on your risk appetite. So 15% of $1,000, 15% of $1,000 is $150. It is $150. So this is your first buying amount. Immediately when the robot buys, change this to $30, and in the multiple buying ratio, put a 5.5. I am not going to go into those details today. So that whenever your robot buys, it puts in 150 and 50, 150 and 50. You could be smart. You allow the robot at least buy 2 margin calls, then you switch on the AI margin call. Give me a 2 in the chat if you have understood. Give me a 2 in the chat if you have understood. Then if you have $500, you can still say the super bull run. I'm interested in the super bull run strategy. What will I do? I will say I am going to expose $500 on this coin. I will say what is 15% of $500, which is 70. I think it is $75. I don't know if I'm right. So this will be your first buying amount. When the robot buys, you remove the $75 and put 15, and in the multiple buying ratio, use a 5.5. Give me a 1 in the chat if my message. Give me a 1 in the chat if my message is home. So you can decide for the first 2 calls to switch on the AI, to switch off the AI margin call. Then after you switch it on, you are trying to prevent floating. You are trying to prevent floating You are trying to prevent floating what, friends? You are trying to prevent floating loss. But I have a question. But I have a question. But I have a question. Is it true that you can avoid floating loss even with this? Is it true? Is it true? I want to be crystal clear. Is it true that you can avoid floating loss even with this? Thank you. No. So we need to understand that floating loss is part of the business. We need to understand that floating loss is part of the business. Now let's go into our lesson for today. How to get out of floating loss. How to get out of floating loss. How to get out of floating loss as a main topic. Now, how you're gonna get out of floating loss, friends, you need more capital. Can we type the word in the chat, more capital? You need more money. If you're already in floating loss and you want to get out of floating loss, you need more money. If you don't have more money, you cannot get out of floating loss. You need more money. For example, I'm floating on a coin called Shiba Inu. What do I need to do? I can find any amount of money. I can find any amount of money, maybe $50, maybe $100, maybe $200, maybe $500, any amount. Any amount, you need more capital. And what do? You are going to open up more margin calls. Now, to open up more margin calls, what are you supposed to do is to say, how much capital do I have? Let me say I have $100 that I want to expose. How many more margin calls do I want to buy? Let me say I want to buy 10 margin calls. So I divide 100 by 10. So I will get 10 more margin calls. Now, these 10 more margin calls, these ones, how deep do I want to buy? Then you say, I want to buy, let me say 30% deep. So it means you are going to open more 10 margin calls. You are going to open more 10 margin calls, each with a drop of 3, each with a drop of 3 per, each with a drop of 3%. Or you can say, for the first 5, I'm gonna buy 0.5 or 0.5. I'm gonna buy 1, 1, 1, 1 for the first 5. That's 5%. Then the next one I buy 2, 2 until you hit your total drop you want to buy of 30%. That's how you open up more margin calls. Now, I know Coach Mopiwa is gonna go practical about this. Now, let's understand this one. After I've opened up more margin calls, our goal is it to make profit? Because there are 2 approaches. There are 2 goals. You can say, I want to make profit while in floating loss. Understand me better. I want to make profit while in floating loss. Or I want to get out of floating loss. Those 2 things are different. If you want to make profit while in floating loss, it is important. If you want to make profit while in floating loss, it is important to put your strategy in sub-bin mode real-time settlement. But if you want to get out of floating loss, put your coin in sub-bin mode. I'm just going to explain that. Then Coach Mopiwa is just going to go practical about whatever I've shared. I know he's in position. If you put your strategy mode in sub-bin mode, it means that from call number 5 up to call 999, hello, up to call 999, whenever the robot will buy and sell, it will return your profit, charge you fuel fee. Give me one in the chat if that is clear. It sells call number 5, it will return your profit, charge you fuel fee. It buys call number 6, it returns your profit, it charges you fuel fee. But if you put sub-bin mode, because you want to get out of floating loss, sub-bin mode, the robot will sell call number 5. It will not return your profit. It will use your profit to move the average price closer to the current price. And every time, your coin will be getting closer to move out of floating loss. So, if I have $500, I can say, I will dedicate my $100 to help me pull out certain coins that are in floating loss and use my $400 that I've remained with to trade other coins. Give me a 3 in the chat if my lesson is at home. I have $200. I will use my $100 to help me get out of floating loss. I will not be making profit, but I'll be pulling the average price to get closer to the current price whenever my robot sells. Because using the sub-bin mode, the robot will not return your profit. It will not charge you fuel fee. It will use your profit to pull the average price closer to the current price. Give me a 5 in the chat if I've understood that. But if you put in sub-bin mode real-time settlement, the robot will be giving you profit while you are in floating loss. Allow me to invite my next speaker to go practical, with the lesson we have at hand. He's going to show you how you open up the margin calls practically and how you change the strategy modes. Welcome, Coach Mo.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach Julius, for the first part of our training this morning. Yes, that was amazing. Can we appreciate Leader Julius for the training that he has done? Can we give him some love hearts if we have profited from what he was sharing? If you have profited what Leader Julius was sharing, can we give him some love hearts to appreciate him? Because I see that knowledge has been delivered here. We understand better and better each and every day about the business, especially the trading aspect. So let's appreciate him. There's nothing wrong. I mean, we're not gonna lose anything when we appreciate somebody. Yes, so let's appreciate him for the work well done. Thank you so much, Leader Julius, for the part that you have explained well better. And I believe that some of the issues we were struggling with, people understanding the trading aspect in terms of floating loss, I think it is going to be reduced. Okay, so we are going to go into the practical part of how to open the margin calls to those that are having capital. Okay, to those that are having capital. What did Leader Julius said? For you to get out of floating loss, what do you need? What do you need? If I may pose this question, Leader Julius said you can get out of floating loss, but these are the things that you need. So can you give me what you needed to get out of floating loss? More capital, more capital. Thank you so much. More money, more money, more money, more money. Yes, more money so that we are able to open more margin calls. If there is no money, if there is no capital, we cannot open margin calls. All right. So yes, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. So quickly, let's get into the practical part. The practical part of opening margin calls. The practical part of opening margin calls. So I'm going to use one of my coins that is in floating loss to open margin calls so that you are able to see. Okay, are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? If you can see my screen, give me one in the chat. If you can see my screen, give me one in the chat. If you can see my screen, give me one in the chat. If you can see my screen, give me one in the chat. If you can see my screen, give me one in the chat. Give me one in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, all right. So we are going to get into it. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, just a minute. Okay, all right, I'm back. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. My voice today is not very good. You can hear me. Yeah, it's not good. I've got a little bit of flu, so I've got some water here. When I've spoken some minutes, then I have to sip some water. So my apology for that. All right. So if you are able to see my screen, you are seeing a coin that is in floating loss, like what Leader Julius was explaining for you to understand floating loss. So I'm going to tap on the coin so that you are able to see the display of the coin, right? I'm going to open this coin, then we go practical together. Okay, here we go. Aha. All right. So I have opened up my coin. This is the Shiba Inu. This is the Shiba Inu. So how many margin calls am I trading with? How many margin calls am I trading with? How many margin calls am I trading with? Probably let me open here. How many margin calls am I trading with? How many margin calls am I trading with? Give me an answer in the chat. If you understand margin calls, margin call limit, how many margin calls am I trading with? I need an answer in the chat. What are you seeing on the screen? I'm coming to Zoom. I want to see. How many margin calls? How many margin calls? All right, thank you. So let me come back again. So I'm having 7 margin calls. All right. I'm having 7 margin calls. How much is my first buy-in amount currently? Currently, how much is my first buy-in amount? How much is my first buy-in amount? How much is my first buy-in amount? I'm trying to engage you. I'm trying to engage you. I wanna understand if you are able to see, if you are able to understand what the Julius was explaining. How much is my first buy-in amount? How much is my first buy-in amount? Okay, thank you so much. $30. Okay, or 30 USDT. That's my first buy-in amount. Now, I want to add margin calls. Okay, I want to add margin calls. So I do have 7 margin calls here. I do have 7 margin calls here. If I save if I save and come here, okay, and come here, you are going to see that the robot has finished buying the 7 margin calls here. It has completed. Okay, so when your robot is trading, or when your robot is buying margin calls, the number of margin calls that appears here, they are the ones that have been bought. Okay, if you are trading with 5 margin calls and your going is writing 4 here, it means it has bought 4 margin calls. It has remained with 1 out of the 5. All right, so when you are trading in sub-bin mode or sub-bin mode real-time settlement, okay, the 5 margin calls, I mean margin call number 5 to 7, the robot will be buying them and selling them, buying them and selling them. All right, so you will discover that this number might be changing. It might come back to 4 if the robot sells the 2 margin calls, okay, probably 3 margin calls, which is call number 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so when the robot sells these calls, you see that here there will be a change. It's going to show you 4 margin calls remained. Depending on the strategy mode you are trading in. Okay, strategy mode you are trading in. So you can see here I do have isolated margin real time. It means this one here, because people, they like to get confused with small things. It will write isolated margin real time. When you tap on it, you are going to find this, that my coin is trading under sub-bin mode real time settlement. So there it is going to write isolated margin real time, as you can see. So I'm trading in sub-bin mode real time settlement. So when the robot started to sell margin call number 5, margin call number 5, okay, remember I do have 7 margin calls. So if the price of Shiba Inu going up, the price of Shiba Inu started to go up, the robot will start selling margin call number 7 first. It will sell margin call number 7 and give me my capital that has been used on margin call number 7, and it will also give me the profit that has been made on margin call number 7, which is 1.3 of margin call number 7. Okay, because it is under sub-bin mode real-time settlement. Then if the price of Shiba Inu continues to rise again after it has sold margin call number 7, it's gonna now the time to sell margin call number 6. When it sells margin call number 6, it will give me the capital of margin call number 6 plus 1.3% of the stock that was sold until it comes to margin call number 5. It will do the same. After it has completed all this and price of Shiba Inu continues to rise, now it will be looking for a position to sell my 4 margin calls, which is margin call number 1 to 4. All right, if you have understood that, give me 1 in the chat, because I want us to add more margin calls. And how do we go about it? If you have understood my current margin calls, how the robot will start selling them, if you have understood, give me 1 in the chat. Give me 1 in the chat. Give me 1 in the chat. Okay, thank you to those that are participating. So let's continue now. Let's come here. So now my robot has finished. Okay, my robot has finished. Can you see what the robot is saying here? Because sometimes we overlook the information that is on our robot. Can you see here what the robot is saying? Can you see? What does it say there? What does it say? It has reached limit of number of buy-in. Okay, meaning to say my robot has completed buying the margin calls. Now I want to open more margin calls. I do have 7 and the robot has bought all of them. Now I want to add. I want to add, for example, let me add 3 to the 7 so that they become 10. All right. So I'm going to tap on trade setting here. This coin is still trading. There are people who said, when I want to open margin calls, do I need to pause? No, you don't need to pause. You can edit the settings of your robot while it is still trading. Okay? You can edit anything in the robot while it is still trading. It's not going to be affected at all. Okay? But what is going to happen is this. While I am editing, let's say I want to edit my settings. Okay? And now the price of Shiba Inu rises. The price of Shiba Inu rises. Okay? Rises. And the take profit of margin call number 7 has been reached. Okay? I am editing the settings. But now in the process of editing the settings, the price of margin calls, the price of Shiba Inu rises. It will start to sell margin call number 7. So when it reaches the price or the take profit of margin call number 7, the robot is going to sell this sub sell while I'm still editing using what I saved in the first place. Remember, there are settings already that I put that the robot knows of. The ones that I'm editing, the robot does not know. It will only know when I have finished setting them, then I click save, then it will pick the new settings. But right now, the robot is following my previous setting in this trade. Are we together? So when your robot is trading, you can edit anything that you want to change in terms of the setting. So let me tap on the trade setting. Okay. So I am editing my margin calls. I'm putting 10 here. Okay. Okay. Before I do that, let me leave the 7. I want you to see something. I want to open on margin configuration. All right. I want to open on margin configuration for the 7 margin calls so that you are able to see. So I'm tapping on margin configuration. All right. So these are my settings. These are my settings from margin call number 1 to margin call number 7. Okay. Margin call number 1 to margin call number 7. So you can see this is my margin call drop. Okay, this is my margin call drop and this is my multiple buy-in ratio. Now, when I add 3 margin calls, when I add 3 more margin calls, it is going to start from here. It's going to start from here under. It will start from here. Okay, because it has completed buying here, then it will start from here. It's going to come number 8 here. So I wanted you to see that where are you going to start setting the margin calls you have added? Because these ones, they are already bought. So when you come and open here, you don't need to worry about the previous one. Start from the new one you have added. Meaning to say, I'm going to start setting margin call number 8 going to 10. Are we together? So I'm editing the number of margin calls here. Let me save. I'm saving here. Then let me put my 10 margin calls now. So when you open on margin configuration, you are going to see that there are 3 extra margin calls I have added. Okay. So when you want to add margin calls, you were already having 10. You were already having 10 and you want to add 5. You do not remove the 10 and put 5. I have seen people who does that. It's a wrong. It doesn't work like that. You take the added number of margin calls, you add it to the previous one. So in this case, if you were having 5, you want to add 3. It means it's gonna be a total number of 8. So you are going to impute 8 there on the number of margin calls. Are we together? But when you start setting up, you go to where the robot ended buying the margin calls. In this case with me here, I'm going to start editing from here. I will start editing from here. Can you see? My robot ended buying up to that level. Now I have margin call 8, margin call 9, and margin call 10. So if I want to edit, I'm going to start editing this side and then this side. Are we together? Who is following? Who is following? We are adding margin calls to our trade. We are adding margin calls to our trade. If you are following, give me yes. I want a yes this time around. How to open up margin calls? I want a yes. I want a yes. If you are following, I'm gonna give you time to ask questions, right? But let's just complete, because now we are trying to get out of floating loss when we have added capital. We have added capital. All right, so let's go to the setting now. Let's go to the setting. Now I have added 3 margin calls to my 7. Now they are 10. The first thing is, how much capital am I adding? That is the first question I should ask myself. How much capital am I adding to the trade? All right. So let's say I am adding $200, or let me say I'm adding $500. Okay. I want to add $500 more to the trade. I'm just using this as an example. Okay. I'm using this as an example. I want to add $500. Okay. Now the $500 that I'm adding, the other thing that I'm going to consider is how much deep, okay, how much deep the robot, the coin should go so that my robot keeps on buying. Are we together? The how much deep is going to help you how you're going to set up your margin call drop. How much deep is going to solve the problem of how you are going to fix this from margin call number 8 to 10. How deep from here? Are we together? So you need to come up with the deep. You're gonna say, okay, I am adding 3 margin calls, but it's gonna be how deep from where it has ended buying. Then you say, I want 10% deep. Okay, meaning to say your margin call drop, your total number of margin call drop from margin call number 8 to 10. I wanted 10% deep down. So I'm going to allocate this 10% to the 3 margin calls. And you know the criteria, right? How to allocate your margin call drop to the 3 margin calls. So let me pose a question here. If I am going to use 10% dip and I am adding 3 margin calls, how am I allocate, or how I'm going to allocate the 10%? Give me a solution. Give me a method. How do I get my margin call drop per layer from margin call number 8, 9, and 10? I want to allocate this 10%. How do I go about it? Can I have an answer in the chat? How do I go about it? 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 I want to see. I have been teaching this. The Nigerians have been teaching this. The coaches on Crypto Ambassadors have been teaching this. How do I go about it? I am adding 10% dip, and I have added 3 margin calls. How am I going to allocate the 10%? 10%. 10%. Give me the methodology. Give me the methodology. Someone is telling me exactly how I'm going to do it. I just wanted the methodology. How do you find your margin call drop per layer? Okay, so we're going to use the drop divided by the number of margin calls I am adding. Okay, the number of margin calls I am adding. So meaning to say it's going to be 10 divided by 3. All right, it's gonna be 10 divided by 3. Then I'm going to get each and every drop per layer. But now the allocation can be different because I was looking at the answers. Okay, I was looking at the answers. How I'm going to allocate it, it will depend on me. How I'm gonna allocate it, it will depend on me. But what I know is that the total drop is 10%. For example, if I'm going to use, let's say I get 3.3 as the answer you have given me, all right? 3.3 per layer, 3.3 per layer. It will be depending on me. Or either I'm going to use 2.5, 2.5, then the rest, I'm going to put it on the last call, which is number 10. What matters is, am I allocating my 10% drop? That's what matters. Are we together? So how I want it is going to be up to me. But first, how deep should it go? So we have discovered that it is 10%. So I can edit my margin calls and put them 3.3. Yes, 3.3. All right. Then I can put 3.3 there. It is almost close to 10%, this one. All right. But remember, there isn't only one way for you to get to Kampala. Okay. There isn't only one way for you to get to Kampala. I don't know. I have never been there. But I know that there isn't only one way. There should be other ways someone can use to still get to Kampala. So what I'm simply saying is, I can decide to put here, I can put here 2.5. Okay? And I also put there 2.5. Okay? How much is left out of the 10? How much is left out of the 10? How much is left out of the 10 drop, 10% drop? How much is left? You will discover that I have remained with 5. Okay, I have remained with 5. So I can put my 5 drop here, my 5% drop here. It's still a total of 10% drop. Are we together? Are we together here? Let me check. On the allocation of percentage drop, I am adding to my trade. Are we okay there? Are we okay? Give me yes if you have understood that. Give me yes. Before we go to the capital now, we want to go to the capital. We want to go to the capital that I am adding to the trade. The capital that I am adding to the trade. Okay. So we are okay. All right, let's proceed. I'm going to pick the hands after the training. I'm going to answer the questions. Don't worry. Okay. If you are having a question right now, please allow me to finish first. Then I'm going to answer those questions. I will come and take those questions. All right. Or you can type them in the chat. But if you type them now, I'm not going to be able to see them because I am asking people to respond to what I am teaching. So probably your question might be very up there and I'm not going to see it. So just be patient for now. You're going to have the platform to ask your questions. Now, I am adding $500. Okay, I am adding $500. This is just an example, ladies and gentlemen. I am adding $500 more from margin call 8, 9, 10. I wanted the robot to put in $500. So I needed to work out here. I need to work out here. All right. Now I do have $500. Which method am I going to use so that the robot puts in the $500 whenever the price of this Shiba Inu goes down to 2.5% first, another 2.5% second, and the third time 5% down. So I'm going to work out on this 500. Remember, my first buy-in amount is $30. Is $30. Are we together? My first buy-in amount is $30. Okay? Is $30. That's my first buy-in amount. All right? Now, do I still want to use $30 to be my first buy-in amount from margin call number 8 to 10? Okay? Do I still want to use the $30 or I'm going to increase it to 50? It's going to be up to me. But the thing is, I want the robot to put in more money, which is 500. Are we together? So if it is me, I can use this. This is what I'm going to do. Okay? I said that there isn't one way to get to Kampala. The only thing is you need to know, how do you get to Kampala? That's what I'm teaching you here. How do you get to Kampala? But there isn't no one way to go to Kampala. All right? So here is my 500. If I take my 500, I divide by 50. Okay? I divide by 50. All right? So I'm going to find out that I will be able, the robot will be able, if I do like this, it means I'm remaining with 10 here. The robot is able to buy 10 times. If it is going to buy 1, 1, 1, 1, it's going to be able to buy 10 times. Are we together? Are we together? So I don't want my robot to buy 1, 1 because still money is going to remain. I'm going to still have money remaining. If I'm going to use 2, 2, 2, if the robot is going to buy 2 times here, 2 times here, 2 times here, 2 times here, it means I still have some money to buy. Now, remember, when your robot is buying, it is better to use a method that here it buys more, but when it buys here, it should buy more than it bought from the previous. We are still doing what we call dollar cost averaging method. Do you remember what Leader Julius was teaching? You still needed to use dollar cost averaging method strategy or technique. So here when I buy here it should be more than what was bought here, because I want the average price of this call, okay, to come closer to here. I don't know if you are following. So I can allocate. I say I do have 500 and I want to use $50 as my first buy-in amount. Okay, so if I use this 500 divided by 50, so it simply means my multiple buy-in ratio. The robot can buy how many times? It will be able to buy 10 times. Now, these are 10 buy-ins, 10 buy with the 500. How do I allocate these 10 times to these 3? Because there are only 3 here. Who is following? Who is following? Let me come here. Who is following? Please, if you are following, give me an answer in the chat. Give me yes if you are following. On the multiple buy-in ratio, on the multiple buy-in ratio, take the capital or take the amount of money that you want to add to that trade, and then you divide by your first buy-in amount. You divide by your first buy-in amount, the one that you're considering to use from that margin calls you have added. Then you take capital, you divide by that. The idea is to get how many times the robot is going to buy. That is the first step. You want to find out how many times the robot will buy. Then we have found that it is 10. Now we do have only 3 margin calls added. 3 margin calls added. So how do we go about it? Someone has given me 125 USDT. Where is the 125 USDT coming from? My screen is not off. I'm just paused here. My screen is not off. I have just paused here. All right. I have just paused. I was just pausing there. So here we are. We have got 10 margin calls. 10 margin calls. All right. 10 margin calls. Now, we do have only, not margin calls, sorry, 10 times. The robot is going to buy 10 times. But we do have 3 margin calls that we have added. 3 margin calls that we have added. Let me draw a line here. Okay. So we do have 10. Then if we divide 10, we take 10 divided by 3. Here we are making equality. It's not going to work out. That is if you want. I was saying we also applying dollar cost averaging method, meaning to say the first buy, it should not be the same with the second buy. Okay. So if I allow my robot to buy 2 times here, meaning to say I have remained with 8, then I allow my robot to buy 3 times here. It means 2 plus 3 is already 5 times. I have remained with 5. All right. So I can put 5 there. I'm saying there isn't one way to get to Kampala. There isn't one way to get to Kampala. This is a total number of 10. My robot is going to buy 10 times. But how is it going to buy these 10 times? Then it should buy multiple buy-in ratio of 2, 3, 5. 2, 3, 5. If you are familiar with the teachings we have been teaching in Royalq, what strategy or what multiple buy-in ratio is this one? What multiple buy-in ratio is this one? What multiple buy-in ratio is this one? If you are familiar with the teachings of Royalq in terms of methods on how the robot should buy your multiple buy-in ratio, what method is that one? 2, 3, 5. 2, 3, 5. What method is that? What method is that? What method is that? What method is that? It's only one person who has given me the answer. Okay. Seconded by Musa. Okay. Kate number 3. Okay. Kayak number 4. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. That is the Fibonacci. So I have used the Fibonacci. Okay. I have used the Fibonacci so that the robot can buy. So I'm going to put 2. I'm going to put, I put 2 here, 2, 3, and then 5. I put 5 here. So this, when the robot buys here, it's going to buy 2 times. Okay, when it buys here, it add 1 more, which is 3. When it buys here, it add 2 more, which is 5. So this one is different from this one, and this one different from this one. These are 10 times. Are we okay? Have we learned something on how to add the margin calls? The same applies if you want to add extra 10. Ladies and gentlemen, the methodology is still the same. 10 margin calls you want to add. You want to add 10 margin calls. All right. So you are going to allocate. You are going to set these 10. How do you want to set it? I said first, look at the capital that you want to add. Secondly, how deep do you want the coin to go? So the methodology is the same. The methodology is the same. Is anyone having a problem here? How to add up margin calls? Okay, someone is asking me why do I take 500 divided by 50? Okay, I am taking 500 to divide by 50 because of here. Let me come back here. I'm saving this. Okay. So this is my first buy-in amount. This one is my first buy-in amount that the robot has been using to buy the 7 margin calls that it has already bought. Are we together? The robot was using $30 as first buying amount when it was buying the 7 margin calls. Now, when I add 3 to be 10, I'm still asking myself, do I or am I going to use the same $30 or I'm going to change my first buying amount from margin call number 8 going to 10? So I said, no, I'm not going to use 30. I want to use 50. That's why you are finding me doing like this. I divide by 50. This one is my first buying amount. Okay? This one is my first buying amount. I can still say, I don't want to use 30. I'm going to use 15. For example, I'm going to use 15 as first buying amount. So I'm going to edit here and put 15. Now the question is, how many margin calls am I adding? Because if I'm using 15 and I do have 500, okay, it means I needed to add more margin calls here. Because even if I use the double up method, it's still going to have more money left. So you also need to think outside the box. If I am using $15 as first buying amount and I do have 500 as the capital I want to add, how many margin calls am I going to add here? I can't just put 5. It doesn't tally. It's not going to tally at all. So the $50 is my first buy-in amount. In this case, I am editing the 30 here. I am removing the 30 here. I am putting 50. So when the robot buys the 3 extra margin calls, it will be using 50 instead of 30. That's where the 30 is, the 50 is coming from. When I was dividing 500 divide by 50. Are we still okay on how to add margin calls? On how to add margin calls. Let me come back to the chart. Let me come back to the chart. Okay, that one I have already. Okay, it was the same question. Okay, the issue of the 500 and the 50. Okay, it was the same question. Okay. All right. Anyone with a question? Anyone with a question? I can handle questions now. I can handle questions now. If you want to add $50, if you want to add $100, the methodology is still the same. Okay? The methodology is still the same. Someone, I have 5 margin calls, 4 is already both. 1 is not yet. How can I do that? You are already having 5 margin calls. This is John. Okay, Johnny is said he is already having 5 margin calls. 4 they have been bought. Okay, 4 they have been bought. So when you want to add more margin calls, John, the question is, how many margin calls do you want to add? Because the robot has already only bought what? 4. Your robot has only buy 4. All right. So how many do you want? The one that is not bought, it is not bought. So you're going to include to the ones that you want to add. Let's say that you want 10 and the robot has already bought 4. It means you're going to set there 6 margin calls that you are adding because 4 they are already bought. Okay? Or you're gonna start from 5 because margin call number 5, it is already set. Remember you are trading with 5 margin calls, and then your robot has bought 4, remaining with 1. When you were setting those margin calls, you did set up to 5. So when you are adding the extra, you're not gonna start from 5, because margin call number 5 is already set. You did set it, but the robot did not buy it yet. So you're gonna start setting the ones you have added. Is that okay, John? You're gonna start setting from the ones you have just added. That's where the setting will start. Margin call, your margin call number 5, you did set it, but the robot did not buy it yet. I'm gonna take a hand that is up there. Just give me some few time and deal with the questions in the chat. I have seen your hand. Is it Valucci? I have seen your hand. Just hold on. Let me finish here on the chat. Okay, on the issue of AI margin calls, guys, you need to understand one thing. The people that are asking, should the AI margin calls button to be switched on? Okay. When we are talking about the AI margin call, we are looking at the strategy that we are teaching, which is the bull run strategy. The bull run strategy has got only 3% drop. Okay. The bull run strategy is having 3% margin call drop. So the reason why we are saying switch on the AI margin call, the robot is going to buy faster. Remember, these are the settings of the bull run strategy. If you remember very well, we set it 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 1, 1. This is the bull run strategy. So this one is recommendable that you switch on the AI margin call. Why? Why do you switch on the AI margin call? You don't want the robot to buy faster, because 0.2 is small. It's not that much. The robot will not struggle to buy it, right? So that's why we say when you are using the bull run strategy, switch on the AI. But in this case, I am adding margin calls. Okay, I am adding margin calls. So the idea is I want the robot to buy. So with me, I'm not going to switch on the AI margin call. Okay, because I am adding 10% drop, or I am adding 15% drop. It's going to be up to me. Are we together? Because if I put it 2.5%, then I switch on the AI margin call. It might take very long for the robot to buy margin call number 8. In this setting, I'm using this as an example in this setting here. Let me remove my cursor here. In this setting, if I tap here, all right, if we open our margin configuration here, can you see what I have put here? Margin call number, okay, margin call number 8. There is 2.5%. All right. So when the price drops by 2.5%, and I have put on the AI margin call, probably my robot will buy when I am in negative 5%. It's not going to buy here. So I want my robot to buy. So the AI prevents your robot to put your capital faster. Remember, we are trying to reduce floating loss. That's what we are trying to do here. We are eradicating the issue of floating loss. So when you own the AI, you don't want your $100 to be put in the market very fast. Are we together? Someone was asking, what is Fibonacci? Fibonacci is a method that you use in terms of the multiple buy-in ratio. We do have the double up method. I'm sure maybe you are new. The person who is asking, probably you are new. Okay. We do have what we call the double up method. Let me use shortcut. Okay. The double up method, and we do have the Fibonacci, and we do have what we call the +1. So when we are talking about the double up method, is this one. I'm already having it here. This is the double up method. When we say double up method, the robot will buy 2 times here. When it buys the second time, it's going to double the amount that it bought for the previous. When it's buying again, it's going to double the amount that is already bought. So you can see it's 2, 4, 8, 16. It's doubling. The amount that was bought here, it has been doubled. The amount that was bought here, it has been doubled. That's why we call it double up. Okay? So the Fibonacci is the one that we were saying you put it 2 here you put it 3, here you put it 5, 8. This is what we call the Fibonacci. When we said +1, it means if it buy 1 time here it should buy 2. Here it should buy 3. Here it should buy 4. You are adding 1 on top of the previous buy. We used to teach this previously when we were explaining the settings in Royalq. So that is the Fibonacci, that is the double up, and that is the +1. Let me come back to Zoom. I'm seeing 2 hands here. I'm gonna pick them. Okay, Valucci, what is your question? I've asked you to unmute.
Okay. Good morning, leader. Thank you for the Zoom meeting. Okay, my question is, you see your trade, your coin minus 31, 32 thereabout. Now it has exhausted your margin cost to 7. You wanted to add the extra trade margin cost, and you decided to buy deep 10%, and your margin, your trade is minus 29, 30%. I mean, is it just training, or because me, I will use minus 30% of my dip to open new call margin, and I think that is what I'm trying to consider.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just using that as training. Remember, I was saying, how deep do you want your coin to go in terms of percentage? So if you are looking at 20% dip, you're gonna give the 20% dip. If you are looking at 30% dip, you're gonna give 30% dip. So I'm saying it's just a training. Is that it's not just something that you should follow. I'm just showing you how do you open up margin calls on an existing trade, and how do you go about the drop. That's why I was saying you just come up and say, I want 15% dip, I want 20% dip, I want 50% dip. It's up to you. But how do you allocate the drop that you are giving now? That's why I was showing that I am gonna use 10%. So how do I allocate the 10% to the 3 margin calls I have added? Is that okay, Oluchi? So guys, what we are teaching here, it is just a methodology. Remember, I have used $500. Someone doesn't have the $500. Okay? The idea is, how do you go about it? How do you go about it? That's the whole idea. Okay? So someone wanted to add $50. Someone want to add $100 as capital to the existing trade. How can they go about it? That's what I'm teaching here. But I'm not saying that you should limit the dip to 10%. No. You can give 15, you can give 20, you can give 30. It's going to be up to you. Now, when it comes to the strategy mode, it's also up to you. Do you want to use the sub-bin mode, or you want to use sub-bin mode real-time settlement. We have explained what is sub-bin. We have explained what is sub-bin mode real-time settlement. But if you want to get out of floating loss, then it's better to use the sub-bin mode. Allow the robot to buy and sell the extra margin calls, but it should not give you back the profit. Let the robot use the profit to bring your average price closer to the current price, because you want to get out of the floating loss. You want to get out of the trade. So if you allow the robot to give you back the profit, it is still okay, but it's not a strategy to get out of floating loss. It's not a strategy. Yes, the robot will be buying and selling and give you the profit, which is good. But when it comes for you to get out of the floating loss, then use sub-bin mode. It is helpful because it's gonna take the profit it has made, it will take it back in the market on your behalf, so that it is able to pull the average price closer to the current price. Someone is asking which one is the average price. When you open your existing trade, you're going to find this. You're going to find this. Let me save. Let me put the AI margin call here in case my robot buys. Okay, I put on the AI margin call. Either I'm going to switch off this one because I don't intend to open more margin calls on this trade. So when you come here, you are going to see that when I started trading this coin, all right, when I was trading this coin, can you see my average price here? Shiba Inu was at 0.000363. Okay, Shiba Inu went up to this price, but now, currently, right now, this is the price of Shiba Inu. So the difference from here to here is what we call the return rate. The difference in prices of average and current is what we call the return rate here. Are we together? Can you see my robot has bought now? I was late. Can you see here? It has bought. It has bought. I did not intend to buy, but it has bought because I saved those settings. Okay? So this is what we call how to add margin calls to the existing trade. All right? So this is my average price. So if my robot is going to sell margin call number 8 and I am trading in sub-bin mode, it means the profit that it is going to give me here. Remember how much capital it has used. You're going to come here and check. When you come here, when you tap on trade setting, okay? When you tap on trade setting here on margin configuration, it has bought margin call number 8 here. It has bought margin call number 8. This one. Okay? So it has bought it 2 times. How much is my first buying amount, the one that I was using? I put there $50. So it means it has bought it 2 times, meaning to say right now it has put in $100 in the trade. All right? So when it is selling margin call number 8, it's going to give me 1.3% of $100. It's going to give me 1.3% of $100, margin call number 8. So that 1.3%, it will take it back to reduce the average price of margin call 1 to 4. The first 4 margin calls, it will be taking that profit, adding it here, taking that profit, adding it here. So I can change my setting here. If I save this, yeah, I go on strategy mode, then I put it on sub-bin mode, because I want now to get out of floating loss whenever the robot is buying my margin calls. Is that understood? Is that understood? If you have understood that, give me yes in the chat. If you have understood that, give me yes in the chat. Davis, ask your question.
Good morning, Coach Mopiwa.
Yes, good morning.
I always appreciate your tireless efforts to get
You're
out
welcome.
the people out of the poverty. Indeed, I've been longing out for this session, and it was timely on my side. I've always had a couple of coins that are in floating loss.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question.
At first, my first buy in Ama.
Davis, don't mute yourself. When I ask you to unmute, don't mute yourself. Yes, I have asked you to unmute again. Ask your question, Davis.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know that I had muted myself.
Okay.
I was saying I've been longing for this session for quite long until this morning. It was really timely on my side. As
All right.
Coach Julius was teaching, I took her through that, and I realized that it was my mistake. And at one point was as a result of grade that I was doing that. Imagine my first buy in amount I could put in a coin was like 800 and then 900 USDT. And then give it only 5 margin calls. Sometimes I was doing it strategically on my side. I was taking it to be a strategy because those coins I used to buy, they could not even buy the margin calls. After the first buying amount, it could do what? It could deliver. But these 3, 4 coins that are in floating loss, they bought the first buying amount and then at the 5 margin calls that I said, and left me at that point. So I've just realized that wallet management was actually so important. Have you gotten the manage? My wallet management was so important in this case here. One thing that I wanted clarity on was what do you base on to determine the call drop when you are opening up more margin calls? Because I saw you use like the 20%. Can I use any percentage? And what do I base on to choose that percentage? Then number 2, still on floating loss, how to come out of floating loss? Assuming I'm having a coin that has been in a floating loss for like 2 months. Let's say it is of 800 USDT. Do I need now to put in more capital of around 800 USDT or even 500 and hope me to pull it now to the current price? Thirdly, it is not a question. I've just realized that on the strategy, it is better not to look at the profit, but on how to get out of the FL by not gaining or getting the profit and letting the robot to use the profit to pull the average price closer to the current price. So you set it now to the sub-bin mode, because my strategy I'd put it in the third strategy. So I've changed all the other 2 coins that are in FL sub-bin mode. So kindly answer the other 2 questions. This was not a question, but it was just a point of concern that I've just realized. Thank you, Coach Mopiwa.
All right. Thank you so much for that insight. The first question you have asked, it is a matter of you saying, I am already, maybe I'm in negative 40 with the coin. All right. So you just decide that I'm adding 10% drop, or I'm adding 15% drop, or I'm adding 20% drop. Okay, when you are coming up with the drop, There is no methodology that you come up with. No, you are just saying from where the coin is, I want extra 10 down. I want extra 15 down. Like what the other brother was saying, that if it was him, he's going to use 30%, which is okay. Which is okay. So when it comes to the drop, it's not one-way thing. No, you can decide that this coin is still going down. Probably it might go down up to 30. So the drop percentage, you just come up with it and say, I want 15, but it should be bigger enough. Remember, you are opening more margin calls. The idea is you want to get out of the floating loss. So you want the robot to buy more. Okay, you want the robot to buy more. So give a good drop. Yeah, give a good drop. Okay, and the other thing also is the multiple buy-in ratio. How do you want the robot to buy those margin calls? It also helps, because if it is only buying 1, you discover that whenever it buys, the floating loss percentage, it reduces very small, very thin, because it has only bought once. Let's say that it is using $15 as your first buying amount. So whenever it buys that call, you're not gonna see a big difference in the negative or in the floating loss percentage. But when it buys more of that asset, you discover that -2 is already gone, -3 is already gone. So it also goes back to the capital that you are adding. All right. So the methodology, if you are adding more margin calls, use the sub-bin mode. Don't put in sub-bin mode real-time settlement, because the robot is going to give you back that capital. It will just stay. But you want the robot to put in so that you get out of floating loss. Okay, someone is asking.
And Coach Mopua, before I forget,
yes,
in such a situation when you are opening up more margin calls, because now you want the average price to be brought near the current price. That
yes,
means, according to the explanation, you turn off the AI.
yes, you turn off the AI, because you are giving bigger drop in terms of percentage.
Thank you.
You are giving bigger drop. You are giving 3% drop per layer. So that is good enough. You are targeting 30%. You are targeting 15%. So there is no need for you to own the AI, because the AI prevents you, or prevents your trade, the money that you are allocating, to be put in very fast. I was using that example that when you are owning the AI, simply because you are using the bull run strategy, which is 0.2, 0.3, 0.5. This is very small, guys. This is very small. The robot is not going to struggle to buy this. But if you put 3%, it means here on the negative here, it should be 3% negative is when the robot is going to buy. So you are looking at a 15% drop. So if you own the AI, it means it's going to take long for your robot to buy. So how are you going to get out of the floating loss if your robot is not buying? So if your drop is good enough, don't switch on the AI margin call. Someone was asking here. Let me tap here. Where do I get the 1.3%? Okay. Guys, when your robot is trading, you see I put 15% here as profit. Can you see that? This 15% profit, it is for margin call number 1 to 4. That is if I am trading in this mode of sub-bin mode or sub-bin mode real-time settlement. Okay, but if I put in the whole warehouse mode, let me please stop typing. Someone is typing, is notating the screen here. Okay, I want you guys to look here. I want you to check here, guys. Let me check here. I want to explain the 1.3%. Where is it coming from? When you tap here on the strategy mode, here on the strategy mode, can you see there? So I am having 10 margin calls. I am having 10 margin calls, 10. If it happens that my robot buys the 10 margin calls and I have put my strategy mode in this one, okay, I put my strategy mode in this one and the robot happened to buy the 10 margin calls, the robot will use the first take profit, which is 15% I put there. I want you to understand one thing here. When you are trading under whole warehouse mode, it does not matter whether your robot is going to buy 100 margin calls, whether it's going to buy 50 margin calls, whether it's going to buy 4 margin calls. If you are trading under here, you are simply saying the robot should sell all the margin calls at once with one take profit, which is the first one of 3% that we always put. Okay? But now when you set it here on sub-bin mode, now you are now what do I call it? You are isolating now. Margin call number 1 to 4, they are going to be sold with one take profit under whole warehouse mode. All right, but margin call number 5 going to 10, the robot, it will be selling them with a different take profit, not the 3%. That's where I was going to show. Someone was asking that, where do I get the 1.3%? So I wanted you to understand that when you are trading under whole warehouse mode, it does not matter whether you are trading with 10 margin calls, 100 margin calls. If your robot buys margin call number 1 up to 5 under whole warehouse mode, you cannot change it to any other mode. Okay, you cannot change it to any other mode. If your robot happen to buy margin call number 1 up to 5 and it is under here, you cannot change it to any other mode. So it means you are going to wait your robot to sell all the stock at one take profit. So you are not maximizing this one, you are not maximizing this one. Okay, now let me come here now and explain this. It is under sub-bin mode, my trade. Now, when you check here, when you tap on the trade setting, this is what I was explaining there. This is 15% profit, take profit. Let me draw a line here. Margin call number 1 to 4. The robot is going to sell them with this take profit. But from margin call number 5 to 10, the robot is not going to use this take profit. It will use this one, and this one. I'm going to open here on distributed and take profit allocation so that you see where is the 1.3% coming from. But I want you to know that if I am trading with 4 margin calls only, these ones, they are not going to appear. These ones, these 2, they're not going to appear. It's just that I'm already trading. I'm going to use another example. But let me finish. When you tap on distributed and take profit allocation, can you see the extra margin calls from 5 to 10? They do have their own take profit because they are sold independently one by one. They are sold independently one by one. That's why they do have their own take profit. This you can edit it. The percentage here, you can edit it. But we always say don't change anything here because you want the robot to be buying and selling these ones. Okay? So if you increase your take profit here, it simply means even these sub-sales, it will take long for the robot to sell them. Let's say you give 2%. With the current market, you discover that there will be silence. The robot is not going to be able to buy and sell these ones. It will be reaching 1.2, 1.5. Then after that, it goes down again in negative. I'm talking of the return rate percentage. So if you leave the default settings, they are fine. It will be giving you 1.3, 1.3, 1.3, 1.3, while you are waiting for the robot to sell margin call number 1 to 5. So these ones, they are available if you are trading with more than 4 margin calls. This section will be available. If you are trading only with 4 margin calls, you're not going to have this section. Probably let me prove that so that people they understand. I'm leaving this coin here. Let us just pick one coin quickly. Let us just pick one coin quickly. Let me pick this one, so that you understand the distributed and take profit allocation. Okay. All right. So let's use this as an example. Can you see we do have here distributed and take profit allocation here, and this one, because they are 5 margin calls. If I remove the 5 and put 4, I want you to see closely now. I'm putting 4 here. Are you seeing those 2 that I was circling? Can you see them now? Are they available? Are they available? Give me an answer in the chat. Are they available, those 2? Distributed and take profit allocation and his friend, are they there? Yeah. So when you are trading with 4 margin calls, those 2 guys have got no work to do. They are there because of the extra margin calls, which is 5 going down. That's the difference. They are independent. Okay? But what I'm saying is, if you forget to change the strategy mode, the robot has already bought 5 margin calls and you are in whole warehouse mode. You should know that you're not going to make use of the sub-bin or the real-time settlement, sub-bin real-time settlement. You cannot change it to that mode because the robot has already bought more than 4 margin calls under warehouse. That's the difference. I don't know if that is clear enough. So that's where the 1.3 is coming from. It is a sub-sell percentage. Every margin call 5 going down, they do have their own take profit. The first take profit is for the first 4 margin calls, the one that we always put as 3%. It is for margin call number 1 to 4. From 5 going down, it's a different take profit. Who else want to ask a question? Dennis.
Yes,
Dennis,
thanks for the presentation. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation, sir.
You're welcome.
Me, I want some more elucidation about the first buying amount. As in the first time it was 30. Now after adding the margin calls, we used $50. Me, I'm asking, is it known to be that we the first buying amount should turn to 80, and if not so, why should we write 50?
Okay. Probably you are confusing with the compounding effect. I was using $30 in the previous. Now I am adding $500 as my capital. All right. So I'm saying, if I'm going to use $30 and I do have $500, and remember, how many margin calls did I add? It was only 3. It was only 3 margin calls. So I am putting in 500 to buy the 3 margin calls. So if I'm going to use $30, it's not going to work out for me. It is just about how do you go about it. It was just an example. But you don't change to increase your first buying amount if you don't have capital. I increased my first buying amount from 30 to 50 because I'm having capital 500 that I want to put in that trade. Is that okay, Dennis? Dennis, is that okay? You can just give me a yes in the chat if it is okay. You change it according to the capital that you want to add. Okay, thank you so much, Dennis. Anybody with a question before we end this Zoom? Did you benefit? Did you learn anything? Did you learn? It's very important to understand how your robot works. Yes. How do you go about your capital? Your wallet management is very important. Yes, you can change it. You can change it downward. It's the whole idea. It's about the capital. How much capital do you want to add to this particular trade? So it will make you either to increase your first buy or to put it down. But if you were already having $15, I don't think it's necessary for you to change it. To change it down, I mean. If you were using already $15, there's no way that you should change it further down. You just need to increase it depending on the capital you want to expose now. Yes. So it's all about capital. Manasi, ask your question, Manasi. Unmute yourself, Manasi.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Yeah, I was trading with Shiba.
Okay.
My first buying amount was 500.
Okay.
It has gone to negative 8.8%.
Okay.
And the floating loss is $258.
Okay.
In this kind of scenario, how do I go about it?
So it only bought once.
No, it had 5 margin calls.
It had 5 margin calls, but how many margin calls are bought right now?
They are all bought.
Or they are all bought?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to add margin calls, how many margin calls do you intend to add? Let me first let me ask
3.
you a question about capital. How much capital do you want to add?
If I add maybe 300.
Okay, you want to add 300. Then your first buying amount, it was how much first?
The first one was 500.
Okay, so you want to add $300. Then you can edit your 500, bring it probably to 30, or you bring it to 20. Or you can even put 15. Then you open more margin calls. If you're having already 5, you can add 10. So that there should be 15. Then you allocate the 10 margin calls, you allocate it to the 300 that you are adding.
Will it bring down the floating loss?
Yes, it will. It will reduce the floating loss, because it is, and I think it is at the right, if you're saying negative 7 or negative 8, it's not that much.
Okay.
If you can bring in $500 in that setting extra, and you use the double up method, you allow your robot to buy with $15 as first buy in amount, but whenever it is buying, it should double, meaning to say to be buying 2, 4, 16, 8, and 32, and you're using 15, you are having $500. It is going to get out quicker, because it's only 5 margin.
Thank you very much.
It's only 5 margin, because it's not bad. It's not bad, and your negative is not high. Negative 8, negative 10. If the robot can use double up, you will discover that you'll be out of that floating loss.
What about if it's negative 40?
Negative 40, it is
40%.
Negative 40% in floating.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
If you are opening margin calls on a coin which
Do
is
you
already
put in more money than the floating first buying amount?
You need to change your first buying amount.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
I think it's network. I can hear
You're
you.
back. You're back. You're back.
Okay, it was your negative. I think it was your network probably. I was saying if you are in negative 40, change your first buying amount, bring it to 15. But you should allow the robot on the multiple buy-in ratio. Allow the robot to buy more. The number of times on multiple buy-in ratio. Yes, because whenever it buys more of the coin, it's gonna be easy for the robot to pull your average price to come to the current price.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
I've understood.
Okay. MD Erepo, ask your question.
Good morning, Coach.
Yes, good morning.
Okay, I was just even asking a little question. If I want to use AI margin call, should I switch on the margin call, or I can switch off, but the AI margin call can buy without even assistant with margin call, switch on margin call, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you hear me.
Yes, I can hear. That's the only question?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me answer you here. Let me come back here. Let me go back to the coin that I'm trading to answer that question. When this one is switched off, when the margin call is switched off, it means your robot will not buy at all. Okay?
Okay.
When your margin call is switched off, your robot is not gonna buy at all, even if this guy is on. This one,
okay.
the first one is the one that permits the buying of the margin calls. So this must be on. The reason why I did put it off, I realized that I did not remember. I was using this as an example. I was editing my margin calls, so I remembered that my robot is going to buy, of which it bought. Remember, I was having 7 margin calls here. Now it bought because of the changings that I did on this coin. So that's why I came quickly. I switch off the margin calls so that it does not buy at all. I forgot to do that because I was just using this as an example. So when you switch off the margin call, the robot will not buy at all your margin calls that you have put here. If you are trading with 5 margin calls, all right, then you click start. Yeah, you click start. Then this guy is off. The robot is gonna only buy once with the first buy. Let's say that you are using $15 as first buying amount. The robot will only buy this one. But when the price starts to go down, the robot is not gonna buy the margin calls which are 5 because this feature is off.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah. In addition, you will discover that you are trading with 5 margin calls. The robot has bought 2 times and your capital is finished before it buys the remaining one. When your capital is finished, it sends you a message, insufficient what? Funds. Immediately it comes and switch off here, automatic. The robot switches off this button because it has discovered that there is no money to buy the remaining margin calls. So whenever you add capital to a coin that told you that there is insufficient fund, go and check. You're gonna discover that the margin call button is off. It is the robot that did switch off. Yes. So when you open margin calls in that scenario, come and switch on the margin call button so that the robot now can start buying.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Oh, guys, I see more hands here now. Oh, Yeah. Let me bring Levis. Levi's. Yes, Levi's. Levi's. I'm asking you to unmute Levi's. Then I'm gonna bring Amando. Yes, Levi's, go ahead.
Yes, I'm muted.
Yes, ask your question. Ask your question, Levi's.
I would like to request you to teach us about Fibonacci.
Oh, you want the Fibonacci? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will come back to that one. Let me bring Amando. What is your
Thank
question? Amando, what is your question? I have allowed you to unmute. Amando. Okay, Amando has dropped the hand. Let me bring Emma. Emma, what is your question?
Oh, thank you very much, sir. I think my connection was down. There's something I didn't pick very well. When should I and when should I not switch on the AI margin call?
Okay. You switch on the AI margin call if you are using the bull run strategy. That's when you use the AI margin call. The bull run strategy, it has got small margin call drop. The total margin call drop in that setting is 3%. So it's very essential that you use the AI margin call, because the robot, if it is going to use those settings, it's not going to take long before it finishes your money to put it in the market. So you switch on the AI margin call when you are using the bull run strategy. You switch off the AI margin call if the signal says 15% drop. I don't know if you have seen a signal that says 15% drop. Then when you are setting a coin on 15% drop, don't switch on the AI margin call, because it's bigger enough. 15% is bigger enough.
Okay, so that means when the drop is over 3%, I should not switch on the AI margin call.
Yes, but also remember, what do you want, you? Because this is a strategy. What do you want? Because there are some who says, I want my robot to buy fast, because I don't want my money to stay there. So I want my robot to buy fast. So if that is what you want, then you're gonna switch off the AI margin call, let your robot buy faster, then after that you switch it on. Or someone says, no, my capital is very small, I cannot allow the AI margin call to be off because the robot will finish it quicker. So you're gonna switch on the AI margin call. The idea is the margin call drop. The AI helps you in managing the drop when the coin is going down. So when it is more than 10%, I'm saying when the drop has been given, and or probably it's not given, but you are setting it up by yourself, at least it should be over 10%. Then you don't switch on the AI margin call. But if it is from 1% to 9%, I would recommend that the AI margin call should be on. But that depends on what do you want in terms of your robot buying.
Yes, I want the robot to buy faster, but also I want to manage my capital. What should I do?
Okay, so you can go for this. If you want your robot to buy faster, at the same time you are managing your capital, you can go for this. Let me come here. You can go for this. Should I use this? Is gonna work out? No. Let me pick that other coin. This one that we were setting it up. You wanted the robot to buy fast, at the same time you want to manage your capital. So you can do your setting this way. Remember, when you are using the bull run strategy, it has got 5 margin calls. So the settings are like this: 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, and then here is 1%, 1%. So if you want your robot to buy fast, to put in money, because remember, you are targeting the first 4 margin calls. So you monitor, allow your robot to buy here fast, it buys here fast, it also buys here fast. If that is okay, then after that, you switch on the AI margin call, so that when it buys margin call number 4 up to 5, it will be using the AI, meaning to say it's not going to put in the money fast. So in case prices started to go up, the robot has put in some good money for you already because it has bought it 3 times. All right. Or either you're going to allow it buys 1 to 4. You allow the robot to buy 1 to 4 margin calls without the AI. Then after that, when you have seen that it has bought, remember this has to come with monitoring. Because if you don't monitor, you discover that the robot has bought all the margin calls without the AI. So you need to monitor when it is doing the buying. Once it says 4 margin calls are bought, then you come and switch on the AI. So the AI will control margin call number 5 going down. But here, the robot has already put in money for you because it has bought 4 times already. Does it make sense?
So when it's on, it buys faster. When it's off, it doesn't buy faster, or it's vice versa.
No, when it is off, it's when it buys faster because this one controls. So when it is on, it does not buy fast. But when it is off, it's when the robot buys faster. It will be when this one is off, the robot will be following the 0.2, 0.3, 0.5 that we have said. But when you on this one, the robot is not going to follow these instructions. It will be buying according to the way it sees it fit, because it buys on positions that it sees it fit.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
Yeah. So if you want your robot to buy fast, because you want the robot to put in good money, allow the robot to buy without AI. When it has bought 4 times at least, or maybe 3 times, it depends on how much first buying amount you are using. So if it buys 3 times, then come and switch on the AI so that the AI controls from 4 to 10 as an example.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes the robot will buy 1 time with $20. Then after that, price goes up. Remember, our robot buys when price is going down. It enters here, which is position A. It buys with first buying amount 20. From this position A, is either price will go up or price will go down. So when price goes up, the robot is not going to buy the margin calls. The robot buys only when price goes down from the point of entry. So when the robot buys here, price to go up, then the robot will be looking at our take profit because the price is increasing. So it is going to sell 1.3% of $20. Remember, it has bought only with $20 first buying amount. So it will give you 3%, whether it's 3% here, whatever percent you're going to put here. But it's going to give you this percentage of what was bought with $20. So if price goes down from the point of entry, it's when the robot will start looking at buying the margin calls. That's why people, they will put first buying amount 500 or 1,000. They are simply saying, if the robot does not buy my margin calls, in the course where price is not dropping, at least I have got some money. I have got some good stock. So they will go heavy on the first buying amount. It buys with 1,000. After buying it 1,000, then they come and edit and put 15. Meaning to say, when the robot start to buy the margin calls, it's no longer going to use 1,000, it will be using now 15. That is if price goes down. But if price does not go down, it goes up, the robot will be considering to sell this stock that was bought with 1,500. That's what normally happens. That's the technique that people use. They understand that if the robot does not buy, it's going to give you small profit because your first buying amount is 15. So some will say, I'm going to use $1,000 as first buying amount. Then I'm going to take 300 as margin calls. Meaning to say, if the robot buys the margin calls, this person has exposed $1,300. So 1,000 becomes the first buying amount. After it has bought for the very first time, they come and change and put 15, so that the robot uses the extra $300 for margin calls. I think I have explained that well.
So nicely. Thank you.
All right. Who else is here? Who else is here? Okay. Adrian. Adrian, ask your question. I'm about to close.
Yes, good afternoon, morning.
Yes, yes. What's your question, Adrian?
There is someone, a colleague, who asked a question about how would you come up with a percentage in case you want to come out from the voting loss. I remember he was asking, like, how do you come up with a percentage? So now I need a clarity on this. Is it okay if I use this percentage, like the return rate? The return rate that is showing, is it okay that if I use that one as a percentage?
As your drop?
Yes.
No.
So is it okay? Is it okay if I use
use
that one as a percentage?
No, you don't use the return rate, because sometimes you discover that your return rate is only -5 or -2, and you want to open more margin calls, so you cannot use that. Don't use the return rate as a strategy to come up with your drop. No, you just need to say, from where the robot or from where the price is, how deep should I give? Then you say, okay, I'm giving 10% deep. Then you're gonna open your margin calls 10% deep. If you want to 15, you say 15. Then you open margin calls 10%, 15% deep. You don't use the return rate, because sometimes you discover that you are only in -2 or in -5. Yet the robot, yet the price might go further than that. So don't use the return rate. Sorry, guys. Don't use the return rate. Is that okay? Did I answer your question? Okay, let me finish up with Adrian. Did I answer your question? You can unmute and respond. Did I answer your question, Adrian?
Yes, sir. It is okay. It is well now.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. President, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President, please come on board.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
I have something which I have not understood. And when I go there on margin configuration, this first column, you have talked about bull run strategy, those 0.2, 0.5.
Yes.
What does that mean? Those figures we put there on the first column.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that all?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay. Let me come here and open my screen. Okay, Levi's, just be there. Levi's, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you, Levi's. Okay, so we do have 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 1%. These figures here, what it means is, if your first buying amount is $15, okay, the robot is going to buy very first time with $15. This one, it only buys once with $15. Now, from the point of entry where it was buying with $15, now you have opened up these 4 margin calls now. Now, from this point where it has entered the market, let me use this. This is point A going to B. Point A, K. This is K. From point A is the point of entry. It has entered with $15 on point A. So there are 2 things that are going to happen here. It's either the price after it has entered with $15 first buying amount, it's either the price will go up. When it goes up to B, the robot will be looking at selling, which is 3% take profit. But now, if the price does not go up, it goes down. It's when we say the market has gone against us. Now, from point A going down, we want the robot to buy 4 times from where it has entered here. Then we put the first margin call, second margin call, third margin call, fourth margin call. Now, from point A, where it has bought with $15, how deep should it go down for the robot to buy the first margin call, this one? How deep? So how deep is it? It is this one. From point A, the price should drop down with 0.2, then our robot is going to buy the first call. From where it has bought here, which was 0.2, from this point here, going to the second one, how deep again? Then we are saying now it should be 0.3. Then we put it buys here at 0.3. So this is what we call a drop. Okay, so these figures, this percentage here, it is what the robot is going to monitor before it makes any purchase of the margin calls. Did I use a very good example for you to understand that? When we are talking about a margin call drop, a margin call drop, it is a percentage that we give in the robot to monitor before it buys any purchase or before it buys any margin call. So from our point of entry going down, how deep should it go for the robot to buy? Now we are allocating. Let's say that this deep altogether is 10%. From point A to point K, we want the robot to buy deep of 10%. Now, how do we allocate this 10 per layer? Per layer. That's what I was demonstrating here. So these numbers, it is what we call the drop per layer. Is that okay? Did I answer your question? Did I answer your question? If I have answered your question, please give me yes in the chat. If I have answered your question, give me yes in the chat. I think I'm done here. Anyone with a question? Amando, you have been putting your hand up and down, so I'm not sure. You want to ask a question or what? The other time your hand was up, now it's off. Adrian, are you coming second time or the first hand you raised? I'm not sure. Yes, Adrian. Adrian, I've allowed you to unmute. I see your hand is up. Is it the first hand?
No, sorry. That was the first time.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, guys, I think we have exhausted. We have been here longer than expected. What if I have not set margin calls? How do you trade? How do you trade without margin calls? You cannot trade without margin calls. It's very dangerous. If you are using that strategy of trading with first buy-in amount only, it's very dangerous, because it's like you are gambling with the market. Yeah, you are gambling with the market. You are simply saying, from my point of entry, the price is not going to go down. Once I enter, the price will go up, then it will sell. I will come out and pick another trade. That's what you're simply saying. So the market does not operate that way. What if I buy manually? Buying manually is not going to help you to come out of floating loss, because you are not using dollar cost averaging method. If you want to put 200, for example, in the existing trade, the robot will only buy once. You're going to put the 200 as first buying amount, then the robot will buy that. That is buying manually. You're going to insert the 200 in the trade. Let me demonstrate here. When you want to buy manually with the buy button, this is what you do. So it's not going to help you to get out of floating loss at all. So buying manually does not help you to get out of floating loss. Can you see? I do have Shiba here that is trading, right? I do have Shiba here that is trading. Now I want to buy manually. So I'm going to tap on the buy button. All right. I'm going to tap on the buy button. It's going to be like this. Okay. It's going to be like this. So I'm saying I'm going to put here what we call the trigger price, or I'm going to use market price. Okay. Trigger price, it means I don't want the robot, when it is buying, when I click manual, I don't want the robot to buy at the current price. So I'm going to use the market price. Then here I put the amount of USDT. For example, I'm going to put, let me put 500. Then I use market price. Can you see? If I'm going to buy at market price, my negative, can you see my negative here? How much is my negative? My negative is 31. Okay. So if I'm going to buy with 500 at once, it's going to reduce and come to 26. It's going to give you the estimated. Can you see there? So this is not going to help me at all. It's better I open margin calls. Let the robot use the dollar cost averaging method, so that it pulls my average price to come to the current price. So for me to get out of this, let's say I put here, let me put here $10,000. I want you to see that buying manually does not help. This is $10,000. Can you see my negative? I'm gonna still be in the trade. I'm not getting out. Yet I put in $10,000. I'm gonna be in -6 from -31. But how much did I pump in? 10,000 K, guys. It's not helping. So to those who want to use the manual button to buy, guys, don't do it. It's not gonna help you at all. You can't get out of floating loss. Can't get out of floating loss when you are buying manually. You are just donating the money to the market. You are not solving the problem. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It has been a wonderful time to be with you here. I believe that you have learned something. Then we're gonna meet again. We're gonna meet again next week on this session. Yeah, on Friday. That's how we stay longer here, because we deal with questions and answers. So we're gonna have another session again next week, Friday. But for our other Zooms, we are not done. We're gonna meet at evening, and we're gonna also meet again tomorrow morning and evening. Then we are done for the week when it comes to the schedule of crypto ambassadors. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Wish you all the best in your trades and in your business. Until we meet again.